to the downtown Chicago. This is the parking area, guys. See the skyline and the buildings. Building, guys. Here in Chicago. See. Oh. And here is it, guys. Is it? We are in downtown Chicago, guys. There you go. Thank you for subscribing. I hope you enjoy our trip today, driving in Chicago with my wife Jeanette. So may the Lord bless you, may the Lord keep you. So try to visit Chicago. Hey guys, I'm here to start, guys, our cruise, river cruise, guys. So you gotta see the place. Here we have, guys, what we have here in the north side Chicago. Hey guys, and oh, where's the net? Okay, taking the sky.
And one, time's up. First, we got two song requests. Round of applause for keeping the song request. Our first song request is going to be we got Wagon Wheel, Darius Rucker. You go ahead and pull it up in the meantime. Please follow me on Facebook at DJ Music. All my information is right there on their poster above the tip bucket for you. Take some Google stars, of course. Consider some please. And thank you ahead of time for your tips and donations. Let's start this one off with a little bit of Darius Rucker. This is Wagon Wheel.
With people. You got some waiting there. Woo, with people. Hey guys, we are here now beginning to the Chicago cruise. As we continue, guys, right here, this is our boat that we need to use. And you see the officers here. Say hello. And okay guys, see the boat. That's the one thing for the river cross. And bring you to the Chicago River Cruise. Okay? The beauty of Chicago River Cruise. There's a real skyscraper. He's the real Spider-Man. Oh man, I see it. Yeah, the guy who cleaned the building. Yeah, that's a real Spider-Man, brother. Hey guys, we are here inside our cruise. So Jeanette is there. So here we go, happy birthday hand, and let's enjoy this cruise. There we go. You really need to hold the phone.
I want to sit here.
Phone because
I
it
want to
will
sit
be
here. Mas ko dirihan, landong.
will be a thing. No, we just move around.
Right?
Yes, we can just move around. Okay guys, we are here. The river creek. Oh, that one is different, right? Boat riders. I'm scared I'm gonna, if my phone will fall, you know. But you need to hold it very well if you take a video. go. We are here. And we are here. So the river crows. See the skies and the people at the top. Okay guys, we're going to go now to this river cross. We're really having this time guys, and this river cross in Chicago. You can see all the total building here. Truly appreciate the beauty.
Deck of life jackets. Please do not tamper with these. They are for emergency use only. In the event of an emergency, a uniformed crew member will assist you with the donning distribution of those life jackets. We ask you do not stand any of the seats or benches. Do not sit on top of any of the railings. This because we'll be including small children. Don't worry, flying into the deck and flying over as we go. Feel free to move on the vessel as we go. Just please watch your step. Use the handrail as you go down the stairs. The stairs located at the stern of the vessel, and there are plenty on both sides of the powerhouse. There are trash cans located throughout the vessel. Please use them. Please don't throw anything over as we go. There is no smoking on board. That does include the e-cigarettes and vapes. Finally, as we leave the dock on the lower deck on the right-hand side, please keep your hands and arms inside the railing and away from the wall as we go. Like I said, my spirit will be your captain this afternoon. I'm going to be handing it over to Sarah. Sarah is our tour guide. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'll be your tour guide for the next 90 minutes as we travel up and down the Chicago River and as we head out onto Lake Michigan. We're going to talk all about the history of the city and the architecture along the way. Before we really get into the tour, though, I'd like to go over a few things just so everyone has a great time while they're on board. Number one thing to know is where to look. Most of the buildings, most of the structures that we talk about, when we talk about them, they're up and on the right-hand side. So if you can see the Wrigley building, the white one with the clock tower from where you are, you're in a great position to enjoy our route. Every once in a while, we move from that spot on the right. We'll see something new, something exciting will happen. We'll get a great view of something. So when we move from this spot on the right, I'll tell you where to look. I'll follow it up with something like this. And you'll know where to look the whole time. Don't worry. If you have a question along the way, I want to answer all of those questions, but I also want to make sure that we cover over 60 buildings and about 300 years of Chicago's history in our time together. So questions that come up, just hang on to them. During our tour, we'll have 3 breaks in narration, a time when I put the microphone down, and then I encourage everyone with questions. So I can give my full attention to your questions, we'll get them answered properly, and we'll get them all taken care of. If you've got a question but you don't want to move, just hang on to that question until the tour is done. When we're back at the dock, I'll be the first one off the boat. I can take care of questions as you disembark. If anyone on board has a cell phone, please feel free to use your phone for some great photos and great video, but please take a few moments to silence your phones. We just have strong signal on the river and on the lake, and it's difficult for those around you trying to listen when phones ring and people talk on them. If there is a phone call that you need to answer while on board, the place for that phone call is the bar downstairs. That way you can focus on your phone call. You don't have to worry about anyone eavesdropping. Everyone who wants to hear the tour can do so without any trouble. When you're all done with that phone call, though, feel free to join us back up on the top deck. Now, if you'd like to have a conversation while I am on the microphone, while the narration is underway, I just ask that you please treat that conversation the same way you would at a movie theater. So if you can handle it at whisper volume with the person next to you in a few moments, nothing to worry about. If you find yourself having to raise your voice, you're better off taking that conversation downstairs, focusing on it, and then joining us back up on the top deck, just so everyone who wants to hear the tour can do so easily. Last thing I'll mention, then we'll really get started. It is sun. Heat or sun is too much for you? Don't stay in the sun. Cool off in the air conditioning downstairs. Join me under the canopy. Take a walk around the lower level to get a little bit of a breeze going, but don't stay in the sun if that's not where you want to be. Let's get started though. We're about to pass underneath the DuSable Bridge. This is the lowest one on our route, so tip your heads back. The bridge is 256 feet long from end to end. It opened in 1920. We'll talk about its namesake, Jean-Baptiste Point DuSable, a little bit later. But at this point, you'll see my favorite building on our route. So ahead of us and on the right, there are some white curvy balconies that don't quite match. Again, white curvy, non-matching balconies. That is Aqua Tower, AQUA. It opened in 2009. It stands at 822 feet. Was designed by a local firm, Genie Gang with Studio Gang Architects. And those non-matching balconies do provide amazing views, but their primary function is to help migratory birds. You see, when birds fly through Chicago, they have a very tough time distinguishing solid building from open sky. The wrong decision about what lies ahead, it doesn't end well for a bird in flight. The random pattern of the building's exterior and how sunlight will go from glass to balcony to shadow back to glass, but without repeating in pattern, makes it easy for birds to see the building and to understand it as a solid object, so they can avoid contact as they fly. Stay on the right, you'll see two dark brown brick buildings. These make up the Hyatt Regency Hotel, largest in the city in terms of number of rooms. The hotel features 2,051 rooms between its two towers. The east tower of the building, set back a little ways, was done in 1974, and the west tower, right at the edge of the river, was done in 1980. Now our next building is also a hotel, but you'll see the name across the top, so Swiss Hotel, just ahead of us on the right. The Swiss Hotel was done in 1987. It was done by Harry Weiss, and it's one of the city's few triangular buildings. Now, triangular buildings are so rare that when they're done, it's always for a very specific reason. This building was designed and developed as a triangle, but was built on a rectangular lot so that buildings nearby could never go there eventually. The triangular footprint typically less interior square footage with fewer rooms overall. But it came with the guarantee that every single room would always have a great view, no matter what else came nearby, or was built nearby, I should say. But keep looking forward, you'll see our third tallest building. So you'll see a wiggly, sort of wavy building. It is St. Regis. St. Regis of 1,198 feet, 101 stories, 365 meters floor. The building is the second project by Studio Gang Architects. We saw their work just a moment ago with Aqua Tower. And St. Regis is mostly residential, but it gets to brag about having the most expensive private residence real estate sale of the 2019 fiscal year. That sale was for the duplex on the building's 70th and 71st floor. It sold for $18.5 million in July of that year. And the building is tall and thin, but it is close to the lakefront, so damaging winds are a major concern, especially when you build over 1,000 feet. It is very sunny right now, so I do suggest giving yourself some sort of sun visor, but then look towards the top of the building and notice that two-story space that looks almost forgotten, like it was skipped right over. That two-story space is called a breeze-through. The breeze-through allows strong winds that build up over the lake to move through the building all without pushing against it. That lets the building stay upright, great for its structural integrity, and also alleviates the nauseating rock that would otherwise take place for anyone living on those uppermost floors. Lastly, it's a series of greens, grays, and blues. So notice how every 2 to 5 stories the color changes just a little bit. And that change in color is matched with a change in width. From one floor to the next, the building will get wider or narrower by just 5 inches. That change in width and change in color to us just look cool, but to birds, it tells them very quickly, very easily, that ahead of them there is a solid object, and they are best to avoid contact with it as they fly. Everything we're passing by, so think St. Regis, Aqua Tower, Hyatt Regency, all of these buildings have gone up over the past 45 years. This area is called Lakeshore East. Lakeshore East 45 years ago was just a 9-hole golf course, so it was open and flat. But nowadays it's home to more than 24 buildings, most of which are residential. And we are working our way out towards Lake Mechigan. Don't worry, we're going to do more time on the river a little bit later. But before we head out to the lake, I want to talk about the river itself. So we're traveling on the Chicago River, and it's a natural river. The river features 3 branches, main, north, and south. It's 156 miles in total length. But in the time that Chicago has grown up around this river system, it has been straightened, it's been widened, it's been deepened, but most importantly, it has been reversed. The Chicago River in its natural state was flowing in the direction that we are traveling now, that is eastward out towards Lake Mechigan. At that time, the river system was fed by a small swamp at the south end of the South Branch, but also at that time, the residents of the city would use this river like an open sewer. They would throw toxic waste, animal carcasses, trash, and factory runoff, and they throw it all into this water really without a second thought. Now I know that sort of pollution sounds disgusting. Trust me, it was gross. The Chicago River became so toxic that it self-ignited twice. So yes, our river was so little water that it was catching itself on fire. The worst part about the whole situation wasn't just the pollution itself, it's that the pollution was then flowing eastward into Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is where we get our drinking water from. If you didn't know already, when you put sewage in your drinking water, you get things like cholera, typhoid fever, and dysentery. They're not nice things to have. City officials became so concerned about waterborne disease that city officials eventually decided to step in and do something. After a lot of debate, after a lot of discussion, this decision was made to fix our water pollution problem, but not by changing our bad habit of polluting. And so we pollute the river, just like we always had, but we'd make the pollution someone else's problem. You see, we'd reverse the flow of the river, we'd stop it from reaching Lake Michigan, and instead we'd send the pollution down the other way towards the city of St. Louis, the Gulf of Mexico, and everyone else along the way. And as you can imagine, the city of St. Louis, not exactly thrilled with that plan. The city of St. Louis sued the city of Chicago, saying if we took our intended action and we reversed the river, we would knowingly make all of them sick. So we went to court, the city of St. Louis versus the city of Chicago. We managed to win that court case. Now, winning the court case against the city of St. Louis, it was not done by the most ethical of means. We pretty much stacked the deck. We made sure the court case was held inside the state of Illinois. That gave us an Illinois judge and Illinois jury, both of which wanted to rule in our favor right from the start of the court proceedings. I think I need to issue a friendly reminder that if a conversation is your focus, to please take it downstairs by the bar or handle it at whisper volume so everyone who wants to hear can do so easily. Now, winning that court case against the city of St. Louis, well, it wasn't done very ethically. It had to be done because the funding needed for this state project, well, it wasn't going to come through if we couldn't win that verdict, or win that court case, get the verdict in our favor. Winning that court case meant funds were coming through, so construction started in 1892 on the Sanitary and Shipping Canal, a 28-mile canal that took 8 years to dig. It was done primarily using human hands, shovels, donkeys, and wheelbarrows, and it connected the Chicago River to the Des Plaines River. That connection is what allowed us to reverse the river, because you might remember from high school physics that bodies of water that move downhill. Water is subject to the pull of gravity. So whether it's a small stream or a mighty waterfall, water that travels goes downhill along the way. Naturally, the river was going down to the lake. The Lake Michigan's only 580. To send the water in the opposite direction, we have to send it to something even lower. Now, the engineers figured, let's go all the way down to sea level. That's pretty much as low as you can get. That's where the Sanitary and Shipping Canal kicked in. It connected the Chicago River to the Des Plaines. The Des Plaines River naturally flows to the Illinois in just a few minutes. Now, the lock system is free to use and is open to the public 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. But because it is free, we need to make sure who needs to go first can go first. So at the top of the list, so the highest priority vessels, those are our government vessels, police boats, fire boats, and so on. Commercial passenger, that's us, we're second on the list. So we'll go through along with the lady boat just next to us in a moment. And then the privately owned boats are at the bottom of the list. So even though they got here first, we're going to cut in front of them in just a bit. The lock system is 600 feet long, 80 feet wide, and I'd like to say talking more about it until we're inside the lock. So while we wait, let's talk about Navy Pier. If you look on our left and a little bit behind us, you'll see this big extensive pier going out into the lake. That's Navy Pier. Navy Pier first opened in 1916. At the time, it was just a municipal pier. It received its title after the end of the Second World War, but it was done in honor of the sailors who helped win all of those battles in the Atlantic and the Pacific. Navy Pier, in its first life, was just a shipping port for the freight vessels that would travel along the Great Lakes. But Navy Pier sort of lost its usefulness during the Great Depression and, of course, the motor age that preceded it. Navy Pier was used as a training facility during World War II, but keep in mind, at that time, there were only 2 structures on Navy Pier. So turn on your imagination. Notice the brick structure just behind the trees. You might notice those 2 towers with the green toppers. Well, this is the entryway. It's part of the original pier from 1916. It's at the very west end of Navy Pier. The other structure to note has the 2 towers with the yellow toppers. That's the Grand Ballroom at the very east end of Navy Pier, also from 1916. During World War II, those were the only structures on the pier. Everything else was flat and level. So if you were training to be an aircraft carrier pilot and you tried to enlist, first thing they do after you passed your physical and of course all of your paperwork went through is they would put you in a classroom. You only have about a week's worth of classes to understand helm controls, aeronautical principles and practices, and of course what to do to keep yourself safe. But after that few short days in the classroom, it would be time to take your practical exam. You'd be placed at the west end of Navy Pier inside your plane. You'd have to use Navy Pier as a runway, gaining enough altitude to clear the two towers of the Grand Ballroom. Once aloft above Lake Michigan, you last commissioned steam powered. But after that World's Fair, the fair still just lost so much profit that it was torn down and was sold for scrap steel. We have a few more moments before we move in the lock, so one extra thing for us. If you look on our right, you'll see our two large fireboats. The Wheatley is the newer of the two. The Wheatley was purchased in 2011. It does serve as an icebreaker for the city. You'll see that black line that runs up and down at the very front. It is the plane of steel just behind it that serves to break up a lot of the ice that we get on the river. But that fireboat has 4 high-pressure hoses. If you run all 4, you move 1,600 gallons a minute. And if you're going to be here tomorrow, you might see the Wheatley in action. So tomorrow, Saturday, we'll be opening and closing many of our bridges so that people with taller vessels downriver can take them out of winter storage and put them out on the lakefront. Well, the steel in our bridges does get hot, especially when it's tipped up a lot more if the bridge is exposed to the sunlight. Our bridges have been known to expand so quickly as they are brought up that when it's time to lower them down, they won't close. So they'll use the fireboat pulling water from the river, which right now is a little over 50 degrees Fahrenheit, to spray down the bridge. The steel will contract and the bridge will fit back together. So if you'll be here tomorrow and along the river's edge, you might see the Wheatley in action. Now we're moving inside the lock, and right now we're at river level. So the water beneath us is about 22 feet deep. Feel free to wave to our friends. It is great when I see someone who's easily spent 7 to 8 figures on a boat, and just like, as they usually don't get in on their first try because it gets pretty popular in the lock during the summer months. But we're moving inside at the level of the river. We're going to secure our lines in a moment. If you're standing, nothing to worry about. We might have a slight bump though. I just don't want to take you by surprise. As we move inside the lock, we're going to secure our lines. Boats behind us are going to do the same thing. And then the gates that we saw opening a few minutes ago will be closing behind us. That's what locks us inside the lock at the level of the river. Once that process is done, the gates ahead of us on the Lake Michigan side of the lock will open. Lake Michigan right now is about 3 feet higher than the level of the river. So as the gates ahead of us open, that water wants to take up this new volume available to it. Water from the lake spills in, we slowly rise. Once pressure is equalized and we've leveled up, we'll head out onto the lake. If you're wondering who's going to operate this lock for us, well, that's the lock tender. You can feel free to wave or say hello. Just look up and on the left. You'll see that rounded window. That's where the lock tender is doing their work. The lock tender will work a 12-hour shift, and they're not just up there pushing buttons. You'll hear the lock tender over the loudspeaker, making sure everyone follows rules and acts safely. They'll also be monitoring pressure and temperature changes that we have in the water, and of course looking out for wildlife, plant life, and animals that move through the lock throughout the day. We're almost done getting secure. Captain Peter is getting us a great spot at the very front of the lock. We still might have that slight bump, just don't want it to take anybody by surprise. So a little more info about the lock. It is 600 feet long, it is 80 feet wide, and if we were to fill this lock all the way up to the top, so water was level with the sidewalk just next to us, this lock would hold 35 million gallons of water. 35 million gallons is a lot of water, don't get me wrong. 3 feet deep at the longest, widest, and deepest point. If deep water makes anyone uncomfortable, take a nice relaxing breath, because what we travel on for our trip is that you even go up to the front of the boat, the bow, and from there you'll see the gates on the lake side of the lock. They are currently closed. They're going to crack open in just a little bit. From there you can see the initial water elevation difference, and you'll see the water as it starts to equalize. But you'll notice those gates open very, very slowly to start. That's to help equalize the pressure. Since water is pushing against those gates trying to get into this new open volume, there's a lot of extra pressure on the exterior versus the interior of the lock wall. Since we do have a few minutes until we finish going up to lake level, I'd like to use this time to start our first and probably our shortest break. So you can use this time to either watch the water level change, to enjoy your company, plan the rest of your day. If there's someone who is worried about going downstairs to the restroom or to grab a drink, you've got the time, go for it. And if watching the water level change really isn't what you're here for, well then all you need to do is turn around and look behind us. We have a dynamite view of downtown. We are secured to the wall, so now is an excellent time to get group photos done, especially if there was someone in your group who was worried about standing up. But if you've got a question at this time, let's get it taken care of. Bring those questions up to the very front of the top deck. I'll take care of them personally. Gates behind us are almost done closing. Gates behind us will open in just a little bit. And I'll be back on the mic in a few minutes after an air horn. The air horn that we're going to hear, it is nothing to worry about. It's just the lock tender telling us all that we're safe to head out. So watch the water level change, take some great photos, or come on up with questions. But I'll be back on the mic in just a bit. Go for it.
Hello. Hey guys. So also inside. Underneath. So inside the boat guys. Right here. Inside the boat. Inside the boat. And Geneva stairs. So let's see guys. We get in. And here we're walking here guys. Guys. It's something here inside. Right. That's the water trains. That there. Sorry, brother. I miss it. Whew. I missed the opening and it was open. I missed it. Yeah, okay, I took some very good video. Chicago. Yes, the lake house. So it's like complete tour.
Chicago River below that was filmed in the West Tower. However, the shot was located just 94 million guitar was created. If you're worried about anything you heard here nowadays, is that next to the down the whole You'll see a green glass building. This is 321 Red Park Street, and in 1987, 35 stories of office space by Skidmore, Lane, and Merrill. The building is currently home to the Chicago chapter of the American Bar Association. The ACA represents over 400,000 owners inside the United States. The building even features a law library in the fifth floor. Now, one last thing about the merchandise mart, I mentioned a moment ago, the building is big. Just saying it's big doesn't give the building any justice. That building sits on 2 street blocks with this area, which is 5 miles of its it's 4.25 million square feet of interior space. That is 296,000 square meters. It even had its own zip code up until July 1st. Well, let's talk about buildings nearby. You'll see the building with the parallel arch at the base. This is River Point Tower. Then in 2016, 730 feet of office space. That red spiral in front was done by Sunky Alcantara type Constellation installed in 2020. Shooting even behind us, you might notice the building with the angled base. That is 150 North Riverside. It opened in 2017. I know a building with a wide top and a narrow bottom can be a little unsettling, but I promise the building is going to stay upright. The very top of that office building isn't actually an office suite. Instead, it's a damper, a big tank of water. The weight and pressure of the water on the top of the building, another train defender, like we said. The weight and pressure of the water at the building's top serves like a big paperweight, pushing the top of the building down so it stays directly above the bottom. When you're all done with the train, our next building is the green glass one with the curve. This is 333 West Wecker Drive, located in 1983. It is said to be the city's very first postmodern skyscraper. Postmodern design since 1980 to present day is what the popular known for. It's about balancing the past with the present in terms of modern design. When the building references the past, it is curved to follow the curve of the river. extends for over 2 miles. It's done by Carol Rossbine. And I'm excited to say the section is next to us. We see all of these empty fountains. It just opened this afternoon. Each section of the river walk is meant to remind us of the different ways that water and the sea, as ancient mountains are meant to remind us of the desert and the Our next building has the white spire on the top of the left with the sound black building in 1930. And this building was a great example of the style. The Art Deco style actually in 1930s is pretty easy to identify in Chicago. The big indicator is limestone. Now the limestone exterior, that soft beige that you see, limestone is the primary bedrock for the state of Illinois. It's also naturally fire-proof, making it easy for us to farm and for very convenient and safe for us to use. Well, in the 1920s, Chicago was very ambitious about building newly colored buildings. We just put your hands on very easily. Limestone. But if you're looking for distinct members of the style, not just the exterior, notice that we have extended a cut out of the center, and we'll call it the center. And then a picture cut out and strung down the line and draw their eyes upward. You're going to give them the power and strength, a big part of the Art Deco aesthetic. You'll see a white building, silver windows, straight to the right. This is 77 West Weber Drive in 1992. The building was originally home to R.R. Johnson at West Publishing House. But our next building, 55 West Weber Drive, was done in 1968 by C.F. Murphy and Associates. This was originally a home to the Crossville Shield. The Crossville Shield moved into the railroad community stop on the lakefront in 1997. Just the 8 tall, dark green and gray granite building as the Leo Burnett building done in 1989. The building was done by Kevin Roach and John Baker. It is called the Leo Burnett Advertising. It's one of the largest and one of the most well-awarded in Mercury. If you'd like to see work from the portfolio of Leo Burnett, think back to your favorite traveling cereal. Characters like Snack Crackle Pop and Peter Tiger pop in the mind of Leo Burnett. At this point, I'd like to go a little bit further forward, so we're going to be on the right still, but ahead of us a little bit further, you'll see dark green with shiny gold. Again, dark green and shiny gold as the former Carbide Carbon building. Nowadays, it's the Country Hotel. The building opens in 1929. It was inspired by a giant Chinese hut. The dark green of the building is green share tiles and green place tiles, but that tower was just 15 tall and color was 24 gold. Once we clear the bridge on Red Eye level is at our space. This is the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. This memorial lists the names of over 3,000 Illinois residents being arrived by the conflict. So see that beige building with the dome? This is the right as we clear the bridge. That is the old Jewelers building done in 1926. And if anyone is hungry for some Al Capone trivia, the Stratosphere Lounge, the nightclub you visit, was once at the very top of that building inside the dome. Nowadays, the dome is part of the architectural office owned by Young's, the Baby Hospital District. But as we continue to move eastward, you'll see a tall white thin building just on the other side of the bridge. That tall white thin building is the former Mather Tower, also former Lincoln Tower, done in 1928 by Herbert Riddle. And that is the city's famous skyscraper. So if you were to find yourself at the very top of the former Mather Tower, then you'd be in a single circular room that's only 9 feet in diameter. The building was 1 of 2 set for the site. If you look just next door, you'll see the glass exterior of the London House. The last site was originally set aside to be home to a second Mather Tower. Construction of the building was due to start in 1930, and with the onset of the Great Depression, it was got underway. That site sat alone and was used as a ground level parking lot until 2012. And the planners for the site went through, and the addition of the London House Hotel began. But our final building today is page 1 to our right, and the former London Parents Mechigan building, and in 1973 by Upgrade Studios. Nowadays, the building is the London House Hotel, but this site was originally home to Fort Dearborn. Fort Dearborn, we just talked about the history of Chicago and the symbolism of the 4 stars. It went up on that site in 1803 and was burned down in the renovation when it was attacked. If you want to know more about Fort Dearborn, now that the tour is all done, you can go right up to that building site, and when you arrive, put your attention to the ground. You'll see metal concrete that lay out Fort Dearborn's original tomb. In just a moment, though, we're going to pull back into that, so at this time, I will ask that if you are not seated, that you please stay seated. Please stay seated until we let an all-clear signal. If anyone on board is learning all about the city, have a wonderful time while you're here in Chicago and a great rest of your day. Thanks so much, everyone.
you guys. And we made it to the last round. We made it, guys. We made it. Right here, right? Okay. What happened? Alright. Yes. Thank you for watching. Give you a like. What's the name of this? Wait.
Chicago architectural
Okay. Thank you guys. And bye bye. Subscribe. Visit Chicago. Bye bye.